He who fears death will never do anything worth of a man who is alive. Seneca. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Marcus Aurelius. To be even-minded is the greatest virtue. Heraclitus. Silence is a lesson learned from the many sufferings of life. Seneca. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Socrates. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus. Life is long if you know how to use it. Seneca. He has the most who is content with the least. Diogenes. Begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life. Seneca. There is no easy way from the earth to the stars. Seneca. Only the educated are free. Epictetus. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus. The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable. Seneca. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Seneca. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Friedrich Nietzsche. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. Epictetus. It is quality rather than quantity that matters. Seneca. Try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value. Albert Einstein. The greatest wealth is to live content with little. Plato. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. The fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool. William Shakespeare. Courage is knowing what not to fear. Plato. It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. Seneca. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Seneca. To be beautiful means to be yourself. You don't need to be accepted by others. You need to accept yourself. Thich Nhat Hanh. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Nelson Mandela. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. George Bernard Shaw. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. For a man to conquer himself is the first and noblest of all victories. Plato. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Aristotle. Do not seek to have events happen as you want them to, but instead want them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go well. Epictetus. Happiness is a choice that requires effort at times. Aeschylus. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Lao Tzu. A wise man can learn more from a foolish question then a fool can learn from a wise answer. Bruce Lee. The best indication of a man's character is his ability to accept praise graciously. Plato. Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance. Epictetus. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. Confucius. I think, therefore I am. René Descartes. Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. Aristotle. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Proverbs 29:18. To find yourself, think for yourself. Socrates. I can control my passions and emotions if I can understand their nature. Spinoza. The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. Aristotle. The best mirror is an old friend. George Herbert. You cannot step twice into the same river, for other waters are continually flowing on. Heraclitus. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Marcus Aurelius. Even while they teach, men learn. Seneca. The only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing. Socrates. A good decision is based on knowledge and not on numbers. Plato. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. Plato. Change your thoughts and you change your world. Norman Vincent Peale. There is only one good, knowledge, and one evil, ignorance. Socrates. From the deepest desires often come the deadliest hate. Socrates. If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present. Lao Tzu. The more you know, the more you realize you know nothing. Socrates. If you do not change direction, you may end up where you are heading. Lao Tzu. What we achieve inwardly will change outer reality. Plutarch. The only wealth which you will keep forever is the wealth you have given away. Marcus Aurelius. One of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. Plato. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. Seneca. Ignorance, the root and stem of all evil. Plato. The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. Marcus Aurelius. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Seneca. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. Seneca. Man is disturbed not by things, but by the views he takes of them. Epictetus. A ship should not ride on a single anchor, nor life on a single hope. Epictetus. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Epictetus. To bear trials with a calm mind robs misfortune of its strength and burden. Seneca. He who angers you conquers you. Elizabeth Kenny. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Socrates. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Lao Tzu. The only disability in life is a bad attitude. Scott Hamilton. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Marcus Aurelius. The mind is everything. What you think you become. Buddha. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. Helen Keller. When it is obvious that the goals cannot be reached, don't adjust the goals, adjust the action steps. Confucius. We are too much accustomed to attribute to a single cause that which is the product of several, and the majority of our controversies come from that. Marcus Aurelius. Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. Epictetus. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Benjamin Franklin. A wise man will make more opportunities than he finds. Francis Bacon. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Aristotle. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Viktor E. Frankl. Freedom is secured not by the fulfilling of one's desires, but by the removal of desire. Epictetus. Each day provides its own gifts. Marcus Aurelius. Do not be wise in words, be wise in deeds. Jewish proverb. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Epictetus. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Marcus Aurelius. Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. Aristotle. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Socrates. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice. Marcus Aurelius. Good character is not formed in a week or a month. It is created little by little, day by day. Heraclitus. It does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop. Confucius. Wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools because they have to say something. Plato. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it, that matters. Epictetus. To live happily is an inward power of the soul. Marcus Aurelius. The fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool. William Shakespeare. A wise man learns by the mistakes of others, a fool by his own. Latin proverb. If we could be satisfied with anything, we should have been satisfied long ago. Seneca. As a well-spent day brings happy sleep, so a life well spent brings happy death. Leonardo da Vinci. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Lao Tzu. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. Epictetus. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Mahatma Gandhi. The measure of a man is what he does with power. Plato. The greatest wealth is to live content with little. Plato. Do not act as if you had 10,000 years to throw away. Death stands at your elbow. Be good for something while you live, and it is in your power. Marcus Aurelius. Excellence is not a singular act, but a habit. You are what you repeatedly do. Aristotle. The only real failure in life is not to be true to the best one knows. Buddha. No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man. Heraclitus. I count him braver who overcomes his desires than him who conquers his enemies, for the hardest victory is over self. Aristotle. The best index to a person's character is how he treats people who can't do him any good, and how he treats people who can't fight back. Abigail Van Buren. It is not enough to win a war. It is more important to organize the peace. Aristotle. Happiness depends upon ourselves. Aristotle. He who thinks great thoughts often makes great errors. Martin Heidegger. A man is rich in proportion to the number of things he can afford to let alone. Henry David Thoreau. He who fears he shall suffer already suffers what he fears. Michel de Montaigne.